Okay. So, can the Baltimore Ravens return to their previous glory? How about Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh? Is that division is pretty wide open, as they say? And could it once again be a two-team race in the AFC South? Well, we're going to try to figure out the answers to those questions and many more as we present to you part 3 of our divisional previews here on Fantasy Football Fever, starting right now.
15 seconds to air. Stand by, all cameras.
Ready with slow motion and isolated cameras.
Stand by, videotape, and rotate.
And tape is rolling in less than 5, in 3, 2, 1.
Take tape.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Fantasy Football Fever. It is Wednesday night, August 10th, 2022, and we are about to officially begin the preseason in the NFL. We got a game Thursday. I think we got some games Friday and Saturday. I think of one on Sunday, but preseason's here, so it's time for the rookies and the second-teamers, the second-year players to kind of really step up a little bit to see if they can try to get some roster spots for their teams. Anyway, my name is Tim McClellan, and once again, I am joined by the host of Hooked on Sports, John Flynn.
Hey, Tim. How's it going? So, a pretty quick turnaround for us, but we have a lot of stuff to cover tonight, so let's get to it.
I say we go ahead and get right to it right now. So this is part 3 of our 4-part divisional preview. We are going to be looking at the AFC North and South divisions. And I say we get to it right now. We will begin in the North. And we will begin looking at the schedule for the Baltimore Ravens. And for those of you who are watching us on YouTube and on Twitch, thanks for joining us. And for your convenience, we will go ahead and share this screen here. Looking at the Baltimore Ravens, let's take a look at the depth chart here. And we see Lamar Jackson is back, but I'm sure he's got a lot of expectations on him. Anything here that stands out for you, Flynn?
Tim, I think the big story for the Ravens this year is going to be the changes to their defense, and I'm looking particularly in the secondary with the addition of Marcus Williams and Kyle Hamilton as free safeties, and I think Kyle Hamilton might play some strong safety with the Ravens, and it's going to be a new defense. Mike McDonald takes over as the new defensive coordinator for the Ravens. He had the same position at the University of Michigan last year, and of course the Ravens took David Ojabo with their second round pick in the draft this year. Now it's going to take a little while for Ojabo to come in because he's still reeling from an injury. So, but if you look all across that defense, I know the Ravens improved at the linebacker position throughout the course of the last season, but they have an outstanding corner duo with Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey, whose season was derailed because of injuries, in an unfair slew of injuries that derailed this team. But with that being said, the Ravens were in the mix for a playoff spot right until the last week of the season. So with all the injuries and when Lamar Jackson went down, that's when things really took a step back. But Lamar Jackson, I think he's primed for to be in the conversation for league MVP again this year because the Ravens have a weaker schedule than their divisional counterparts. They have and they've got everybody back. They have one of the best rosters in the NFL. Eric DeCosta is a genius at the general manager position. I thought the Ravens had one of the best drafts in the league last year this past April when they drafted Kyle Hamilton at pick 14. They traded down and still wound up with the best center of the draft, Tyler Linderbaum. And then they plugged in a lot of different pieces. And Lamar Jackson's ability to throw in the pocket under pressure, that's been something he's been working on. And another thing too that I think you have to expect before the season starts is Lamar Jackson to get a record contract extension, because he means everything to the franchise. Lamar Jackson is no worse than the sixth best quarterback in the NFL. When you look at how the quarterbacks stack up, and I know Joe Burrow's got a compelling case. I know the non off the issues field, Deshaun Watson would have a say on that. But Lamar Jackson is the best. To me is the best quarterback in the division, and I think the Ravens at the end of the day are going to win 11 or 12 games and win the NFC North. So I think the schedule is going to tell a lot about how I feel about this year's Baltimore Ravens. And the Ravens are going to start by playing a round robin with the AFC East, because they open up on the road against the Jets week 1, which I have labeled as a win. Their home opener is week 2 against Miami. I actually have that as a loss, but it's stiff competition for the first half, but I think the Ravens can reel off a bunch of wins. I mean, on the road at New England, I think they can beat Buffalo at home. They can beat Cincinnati at home. That's going to be a Sunday night game. They'll take care of the Giants week 6. They'll beat the Deshaun Watson-less Cleveland Browns, presumably, assuming the NFL gets a loftier suspension for him at 7, and then I think they can beat the Bucks because Lamar Jackson has owned Tom Brady throughout his career. So I'll take the Ravens to start the season 7-1. Tim.
Wow, that's pretty good. I have them going to New York to beat the Jets versus Miami. I'm going to have to I could probably put a question mark on that one. New England, they're playing in Foxborough in week 3. I could probably see it as a victory for the Ravens there. I mean, don't underestimate Mac Jones, though. Then I see W's all down the line from Buffalo, Cincinnati, at New York Giants, home against the Browns, on the road to the Bucks. And on the road against New Orleans, I could probably see them taking that one. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got 8-1 before the bye week in week 10, and then after that, whoa, we got November 20th off the bye week. They're at home against Carolina.
Yeah, I have that as a win. Also, I have the Monday night game in New Orleans as a win for the Saints. I said that on Monday night's program. So I have that as a win for New Orleans over Baltimore. So we both have Carolina or Baltimore beating Carolina. So Tim would have them starting 9-0 with a question mark. I would have Baltimore at this point with an 8-2 start.
Then on November 27th, they're on the road at Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be the game. I think that's gonna be the game where Trevor Lawrence says, "I belong in the big league," so I'm gonna go with Jacksonville on that one. Then the following week they're home against the Broncos. I have that as a loss. And then Pittsburgh. It's always a split in my mind. So I have the home team winning both games.
Yeah, it's always interesting when I mean if there's no other games for me to watch, and if the Ravens and Steelers are playing, if they're playing on local station, yeah, I'm going to be watching because this is one of the better rivalries in the league over the last, 20 years?
Yeah, and I mean, considering how both games ended last year, that the Ravens lost both games by a combined 4 points. If the Ravens won either one of those two games, they would have made the playoffs. But listen, give the Steelers and Mike Tomlin credit for finding a way to win in a difficult environment such as that. But all the late game dramatics in both games were remarkable. But and I think something needed to be noted with the first game. I think it was the game where the Ravens got the ball back down by a touchdown with less than 2 minutes left, and Lamar Jackson took them down the field and scored a touchdown on one of the league's best defenses. So the Ravens and Steelers is one of the best rivalries in the NFL, and I commend the NFL for saving both Baltimore-Pittsburgh games for the last month of the season. So these could be some critical games at the end here.
Yeah, that's what I call must see TV.
Yeah, and I know that the game on December 11th is currently scheduled as a 1 p.m. Eastern game, 12 p.m. Central. That could be a game that gets flexed into the 4 o'clock window, depending on where the teams are in the standings.
Yeah. Maybe even flex to prime time, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we said that the Ravens will take care of Cleveland and Baltimore. They travel to Cleveland on December 18th.
Yeah, I have the Ravens winning that game too.
Okay. Then they will be home against the Falcons on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, I'm taking Baltimore. We established that yesterday.
Yeah. And Cincinnati, we said they would beat.
So this is actually new for us because I have the home team winning both games, so I'd have Cincinnati winning in week 17.
Okay, so yeah, I can see that happening. So with that, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 victories. I got 1, 2, 3 losses and 1 question mark. That's the week 2 game at home against Miami. So, yeah, I think Baltimore is definitely in a prime position to take back the AFC North here. And now we move on to the Cincinnati Bengals. Let me go ahead and get that screen up for you. Let's take a look at those Bengals with Mr. Joe Burrow.
Yeah, as the quarterback, and I said on one of my Hooked on Sports episodes last month that with Lamar Jackson as number 6, I have Joe Burrow as number 7 or number 8 because you can debate between him and Justin Herbert on that. But I think that the big thing about the Bengals going into this season are the changes they made to the offensive line. Now, if the Bengals had somewhat of a competent offensive line, they probably would have won the Super Bowl. Based on the play of Joe Burrow, based on the play of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, based on the defense taking Odell Beckham Jr. out of the Super Bowl. So, but the defense is going to be excellent. Now, I do wonder aloud about Mike Hilton playing. Being the starter in place of Eli Apple, but other than that, I think the Bengals defense got better as the season went along because I know Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt played a huge role in the Bengals winning their games against the Raiders in the wild card game and the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game as someone who could spy the quarterback. So the Bengals seriously improved on the biggest area. So they plucked Alex Kappa from the Buccaneers to play right guard, and that's going to be a treat for Joe Burrow that he actually has a strong offensive line to go along with everything else he has.
Yeah, it's going to sound interesting here. Let's go ahead and run down the schedule for the Bengals. They start at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I kind of want to lean toward a victory right there for the Bengals there. I
Yeah,
say, I
it's a
say, I say this is going to be a sweep. Or not a sweep. I say a split. They can beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in Cincinnati, but I think the Steelers will beat the Bengals over at Heinz Field. Oh, wait a minute.
yeah.
They changed the name of that place, did they?
See, I believe they changed the name to, today. So Paul Brown Stadium is no more. That they it's now Paycor Stadium. So that means only two stadiums in the NFL do not have corporate names in front of them.
Right.
So
And didn't Pittsburgh change their name as well?
yeah, I mean, the Pittsburgh always had a corporate name since they opened their new stadium about 20 years ago. So that they went from Heinz Field to Acrisure Stadium.
Uh-huh. So I kind of see a split. Bengals winning at home to start the season. Then on November 20th, I could probably see them losing on the road to the Steelers.
Yeah.
Week 2, September 18th, the Bengals are in Dallas.
Yeah,
And I think we booked that a win.
I marked that as a win for the Cowboys. Also, I too have a split of the Bengals Steelers series this year, but I have both teams on the road winning. So I have Pittsburgh winning week 1, and then Cincinnati plays Pittsburgh on Sunday night. But that's gonna be the Bengals coming off their bye week. It's that Sunday night game. So this is a case where I have the Bengals starting the season 0-2, and no team has made the playoffs in the NFL in the last 4 years by starting the season 0-2. So if my scenario is correct, that's going to be a tall hill to climb for the Bengals. But their schedule gets a little bit easier from theirs, because week 3 they've got the Jets at the Meadowlands. I've got that as a win, and then I believe that the Dolphins Bengals game. I believe, if you can scroll down, I think that's the Thursday night game that week.
Yes, it is. Thursday night, Prime Video.
Yeah, so I have the Bengals winning that. I established the loss to Baltimore odds on that Sunday night game, but then I have them winning 5 straight after that. At New Orleans, home against the Falcons, on the road against the Browns, home against the Panthers, on the road against the Steelers coming off their bye week before. So a rematch of the AFC Divisional playoff on Thanksgiving over Thanksgiving weekend, where I have the Titans winning over the Cincinnati.
That's kind of the same way I was heading too. Then we have a big one, December 4th. The Bengals are at home against the Kansas City Chiefs. That's going to be a good one.
So yeah, that's one of the matchups I'm looking forward to, because that's a rematch from the AFC Championship game. Yeah, and I'm gonna take the Bengals to defend home turf that day.
I'm kind of smelling an upset here. I mean, of course, the big question in Kansas City is, can they survive without Travis Kelce? But we'll talk about the Chiefs when we get there.
Yeah, the AFC West preview show is going to be amazing, based on how incredible that division is going to be this season.
Then Cincinnati is at home against Cleveland.
I have that as a loss, because the Browns generally tend to do really well in Cincy.
Then they have 2 road games, December 18th and 24th. First at Tampa Bay, then at New England.
And Tim, before you do that, you can scroll down on the screen so they can see the schedule.
Sorry about that, folks. Just gotta get there. There's your schedule right there.
Yes,
and week 16 against New England. Yep.
Yeah, so I have them losing to Tampa. I have them winning on the road against the Patriots on Christmas Eve.
Alrighty, then they have 2 home games to finish the season. Monday nighter at home against Buffalo, and then at home against the Ravens.
Yep, I have Cincinnati winning both of those games.
Ooh, interesting. I put a question mark on the Buffalo game, but on the Baltimore game, I can see that. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got at least 10 wins, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 6, and a question mark for the Bengals. So I can see a bit of improvement over in Cincinnati right there. It's looking very, very interesting so far. Let us trying to get my papers on order here. Let's go ahead and we'll be talking about the Cleveland Browns here. I'll just go ahead and load that one up. And as always, folks, as John and I make our picks, we invite all of you to make your picks. Go ahead and leave your predictions in the comment section below. Tell us what you think the records for these teams we're talking about is going to be, and test your knowledge against ours. See what happens. Now let's talk about those Cleveland Browns. Let's take a look at the depth chart here. As soon as I get it loaded up, we'll take a look here. And as I understand, Deshaun Watson will be starting the Browns' first preseason game, which will be actually Friday night at Jacksonville.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be a case where Deshaun Watson will have an extension on his suspension because of how egregious his actions were. So, but the sad thing about this is, as talented a quarterback Deshaun Watson is, the Browns have an excellent roster. When you look at the offensive line, when you look at maybe the best running back duo in the NFL in Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. When you think about getting Amari Cooper from Dallas, and then of course the defense led by Myles Garrett, and I'll argue Myles Garrett is the second or third best defensive player in the NFL. I think it's Aaron Donald, T.J. Watt, Myles Garrett cross the line, and then everyone else. But I love the Jadeveon Clowney coming back. The secondary is fantastic. I think Greg Newsome is going to have a big year covering the opposition wide receiver this season. I love the Owusu Koromora pick from the 2021 draft. I think he's going to have a big year or two out of Notre Dame. But the problem is the quarterback, and the Browns are going to be punished for for not scrutinizing the situation with Deshaun Watson. They didn't bother to look at his off the field issues, and I think that's going to cost the franchise dearly here. And all the commentary from Jimmy Haslam during the during the off season, during the introductory press conference is it's telling. It's telling of the franchise that they are, and the franchise that still is full of dysfunction.
Yeah, even though they do have some bright spots, they're not. I don't think they're quite bright enough. So going through this schedule, we have to assume we know it's going to be at least 6 games, but of course, a lot of people saying it should be for a whole season.
Yes, so I think Jacoby Brissett should be a okay replacement, but I think for 1 year, especially if the Browns if Watson receives a longer suspension, I think that would be a good time for them to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo with the San Francisco 49ers.
All right, so the Browns, assuming they will be without Deshaun Watson, they open the season at Carolina.
Yeah, I have the Browns winning the Baker Mayfield revenge game, so I have that as a win for Cleveland.
Okay, I have them winning at home against the New York Jets.
So yeah, I actually believe it or not, I have that as a loss. I think the Jets will go on the road and pull off an upset.
Ooh, interesting. Week 3, they're at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's on a short week. I'm gonna take the Steelers on that one. And remember, these picks are gonna be subject to change.
Right.
So we just have a feel of the schedule of what it is right now.
And they do not play the Steelers again until week 18 when they will be at Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go ahead and mark that down. Probably Pittsburgh gets a revenge. So I kind of see a split in this one with the home team winning.
Yeah, I have a split with the road teams winning.
Interesting. October 2nd, the Browns will be heading to Atlanta to take on the Falcons.
I have that as a win. Because I think that defense is going to be a nightmare matchup for Marcus Mariota.
No, that is a name I've not heard in a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
Then they have 2 road games.
They have 2 home games against the Chargers, the Patriots, the Ravens, and the Bengals. That's a tough stretch for the rest of the month, and I have all those circled down as losses. As do the games against Miami, Buffalo, and Tampa coming out of the bye week.
I'm kind of inclined to lean toward that direction as well. And I probably also see another loss December 4th when they travel to Houston.
Yeah, I have the Browns winning that game. The Texans are still not even close to contending, and the Browns still have actual players on the roster. So I'm going to take the Browns on that one.
Yeah, I'll take the Browns there. Yeah, I said the law. No, they won't lose against Houston. They have Cincinnati.
We said split with the road teams winning. I said that.
Oh yeah. Cincinnati. I said win against. So I took the home teams in the split there, and then Baltimore. We said at Baltimore the Browns would come up short.
Yeah, and I have the Ravens winning this game too. And then if you scroll down, you'll get the rest of the schedule.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and bring that on down. So, what did I say for week 15? We were just talking about the Ravens here.
Yeah.
Week 15, I said Cleveland would actually win that one. So, yeah, mark that down as a victory. Christmas Eve, Browns home at New Orleans.
So I'm taking Cleveland the last 3 games versus New Orleans and then at Washington and at Pittsburgh. So I have the Browns finishing at 7-10. Which of course would be a heck of a lot different if Deshaun Watson was not a knucklehead.
Very, very true.
Yeah, I would have put the Browns in the conversation to go to the Super Bowl and win it if Deshaun Watson without the off the field issues was playing.
Yeah, so that would make me put the Browns right now with a record of 8-9.
Yeah.
So,
and of course, 8 wins is not going to be enough to make the playoffs in the AFC this year. It won't be.
no, I don't think so. Let's talk about those Steelers. Get the Steelers screen. We need the Steelers screen now. Go ahead and talk about them.
Yeah, and
life after Big Ben.
Life after Ben Roethlisberger, indeed, and So and it's not and the Steelers are gonna have a quarterback competition between Mitchell Trubisky and Kenny Pickett as their quarterbacks. And I think the Steelers are going to be an interesting team this year. Now, I don't think that they're going to be good enough in the 2022 AFC to make the playoffs, but I think it would be fair to say that the Steelers do have things to worry about when it comes to their offensive line, when it comes to the depth behind Deontay Johnson, who, by the way, signed a contract extension recently, and I think he's worth every single penny. I think Johnson is a top 15, top 20 receiver in the NFL. So with all the wide receiver extensions, I think it's worth it. Najee Harris comes back for year 2. I think he's gonna have a big year. But I think looking at the defense, I think you're going to see a lot of familiar faces. So, but there's a couple of names were lost because of salary cap casualties. But I love Pittsburgh's linebackers. I love their construction of their T.J. Watt, Devin Bush, Miles Jack pickup is going to be one of the best signings of the offseason. Jack comes over from Jacksonville. And also Larry Ogunjobi came over from Cincinnati. Micah Fitzpatrick signed a big contract extension himself, but I disagree with it because I don't think safety should be paid that much when it comes to trying to pay everybody else. But the Steelers can get away with it because they just drafted a quarterback in the first round. So I'm not gonna fault Omar Khan, the new general manager, for doing that, but it's just on contention on if the Steelers can take care of business like their own. So without any further ado, we've got a schedule to look at, and my first thought of looking at the Steelers schedule, regular season schedule, is a 4-0 start. The home on the road in Cincinnati, which Tim has as a loss for the Steelers, a win against the Patriots. On the road in Cleveland, which Tim also has as a loss, and then a win against the Jets in Week 4. So I have the Steelers starting 4-0.
Okay, so I have them 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
And interesting matchup on October 9th when the Steelers travel to Buffalo. That will be a nice little appetizer, I guess.
Remember, the Steelers won in Buffalo last year because that's another game the Steelers could have let slip away, but the Steelers came back and won that game. So I have that as a loss for the Steelers because then I'll tell you more about the Bills next time and why I think that's going to be a pivotal game for Buffalo. Week 6, I did mention last week that I had an upset in Week 6 with the Steelers giving Tampa its first loss of the season. That's what I have for them when it comes to Week 6. And then they play at Miami and then at Philadelphia. I have them as losses for both because as Week 8, it's going to be the Eagles coming off their bye week. So I think that's going to suit the Eagles well on that front, and then which leads Steelers to the bye week, which I have them at 5-3. But the schedule doesn't get any more forgiving from there because they have the Saints at home, which I think could be a win for them coming off their bye. Then I have them losing to Cincinnati on Sunday Night Football, which is a game that Tim actually had winning, so we actually defer on that one. The Monday night game after Thanksgiving on the road against the Colts, I have that as a loss, and then I had the classic Mike Tomlin trap game. A loss against the Falcons on December the 4th.
which I kind of put down right now as a victory for the Steelers in Atlanta.
Yeah.
After that, it's the first game with their hated rivals, the Ravens. If I'm not mistaken, I put a split with the Ravens with the home team winning.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I put a split with the road teams winning.
Okay, so they win in Baltimore, and then they'll lose at Baltimore. In between those two games, they're on the road at Carolina, then home against Las Vegas.
Right.
I can see a Steelers win at Carolina.
I actually have the Raiders beating Pittsburgh on the road again on Christmas Eve. Um,
Gonna
and
with victory.
yeah, and then I have the Steelers losing their last two games against the Ravens and the Browns.
I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, I have the Steelers going 8-9 and them not making the playoffs. So the way I look at the standings in the AFC North, I have Baltimore in first, Cincinnati in second, Pittsburgh in third, and Cleveland in fourth for now.
Yeah, for now. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting. So, that's our look at the AFC North. And now we are going to travel to the AFC South, where we will begin. Let me get that up again here. I need to get that. Here we go. Let's take a look at the Houston Texans. Is this screen up? Click on the depth chart button. And here we go. Now, this starter here, Davis Mills, I have not heard of, but I
Yeah.
have heard of Kyle Allen before.
Yeah, Davis Mills is okay. I thought he was one of the most productive of all the rookie quarterbacks last year, but I just think opposing teams have found something that they can exploit early on. I think it's going to be a long season for the Houston Texans. And you could look at the depth charts on offense and on defense, and it's not particularly promising. I'll give you that.
All right, nothing
Yeah.
much here to write home about.
Yeah, and also note the Texans drafted Derek Stingley with the third overall pick in the draft, and I vehemently disagree with that in real time. I didn't even think he was the best corner in the draft this year. That would have went to Ahmed Sauce Gardner from the University of Cincinnati, but I digress. So, but looking at the schedule, I have 3 wins for the Texans this year. 3 wins, all at home. The games week 8 against Tennessee, week 11 against Washington, and then week 17 against the Jaguars. That's it. Everything else is losses.
Versus Indianapolis, I agree. I agree.
And have them see the schedule so this way they can see what we're looking at.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go ahead and put that up there. Looking down the line here, I pretty much have to agree 100% with you, buddy. I mean, at home against Tennessee, they can beat them. At home against the Commanders, yeah, they can beat them. And at home against Jacksonville, yeah, they can beat them. But right now, the rest of the schedule looks like all L's to me. So that's going to be a record of 3-14.
And this could lead us to the next team. Well, and you're doing the Colts next.
As a matter of fact, that is the next team that's on the list here. It's the Indianapolis Colts. We'll go ahead and this thing kind of wants to go faster than I am, so we'll go ahead and take a look at the Colts here. Get that screen up here. So you got this is a very interesting quarterback lineup here. You got Matt Ryan, who came from Atlanta. You got Nick Foles, who was in Philly, and then he was
In Jacksonville, he signed that big contract. Then he got traded to the Bears, and then all that. Jack Cohen was Notre Dame's quarterback last year, so he doesn't have to go far to find his NFL home. But so yeah, but I think a couple of things to note. Jonathan Taylor, I think is going to be viewed by a lot of people as the first running back to go in the fantasy football draft, and of course, coming off the historic season, he had over 1,800 rushing yards, and he almost ran the Colts all the way into the playoffs. But I think Matt Ryan changed the whole equation for Indianapolis. That they needed an upgrade from Carson Wentz. They needed someone who can actually make plays at the quarterback position and make the big time throws when he has to. And Matt Ryan has been doing that his entire career. And he brings so much to the table. He brings professionalism. He brings toughness. He brings accountability, and because of that, and the Falcons had 33 fourth quarter comebacks when Matt Ryan was the quarterback. So he's done a lot of this before, and I do want to look at the defense but before you look at it. Obviously Quentin Nelson, a name to look at on the offensive line, who I think is tremendous. But I think you look at Indianapolis, and they have an outstanding defense. I know one of the names I don't see right there is Darius Leonard, and actually he's now known as Shaquille Leonard, believe it or not. One of the best linebackers in the NFL, so he changed his name from Darius Leonard to Shaquille Leonard. But I really like the defensive line. I like the Deanna Ngakoue addition. DeForest Buckner, Kwity Paye. So the Colts need to see more from Kwity Paye than they did last year. And also, one of the most underrated signings of the entire two of the most underrated signings of the entire offseason were to bolster the Colts secondary when they signed Stephon Gilmore, first 2019. Defensive Player of the Year, and then bringing in Rodney McLeod to offer some needed depth in the secondary. That was a big time signing. So I think that's going to improve that. So without any further ado, Tim, let's take a look at the Indianapolis Colts schedule and see how I believe the Colts can win 11 games and win the division.
yeah. I say they start the schedule kind of easy.
Yeah, so they start on the road in Houston and Jacksonville. I have those two as wins. I have them losing their home opener against Kansas City, but then they rebound in a big divisional tilt with Tennessee. I have the home team winning both Colts Titans clashes this season, and then Week 5 they have to turn it around a short week and go up against Russell Wilson and the Broncos. I have that as a loss, but then they bounce back and beat Jacksonville, and then they lose at Tennessee. I have them losing at home against the Commanders, and then I have them losing on the road in New England. So at this point, I have the Colts at a 4-5 start, but they turn things around quickly, and then I have them reeling off 5 straight victories at Las Vegas versus the Eagles versus the Steelers. On the road against Dallas, and then on the road against Minnesota, coming off their bye week.
Yeah, that sounds like that makes sense to me.
Yeah, and then you can scroll down, and we'll give you the last 3 weeks of the season. So we got a Monday night game at home against the Chargers, and then then a road clash against the Giants in Week 17. I have that as a victory. And then I have the Houston game as a victory. So that gives me 11 wins for the Colts. And that Charger game, by the way, I think that's going to be a loss for Indianapolis.
Okay, so you said a win at Tennessee, win at Washington, or win at home against Washington.
I have them as a loss at home against Washington, but you have them as a win.
Yeah, I had them as a win, so they're
in the Carson Wentz revenge game.
right. Yeah, they'll lose to Pittsburgh, lose to Philly, lose to Dallas, lose to Vegas. So it gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now where did I screw up? They could probably they'll beat Philly at home. I was just getting confused with what you were saying when you were going down your schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think they'll actually. Yeah, they'll lose Minnesota at home against the Chargers. I could probably see them winning that one. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got them with this. This doesn't look right. I mean, I think I may have just screwed this whole thing up, but I agree. I agree with what you're saying. Looks like the Colts right now on paper look a little better than they did.
Yes, and that has to do with the upgrade at the quarterback position, and Chris Ballard brilliantly played his hand. The Falcons knew everybody knew the Falcons had to trade Matt Ryan, and Matt Ryan said earlier this week, and said that he couldn't possibly envision himself walking into that Falcons clubhouse and that building when the Falcons were flirting with Deshaun Watson, and the possibility of trading him. Because remember, the Falcons were the runners-up for Deshaun Watson, and maybe that was the best time ever to be a runner-up given the circumstances.
So we said that the Texans would probably go 3-14. Let's see how we think. Man, this thing is going up here. I'm trying to get to the Jaguars page. There we go. See how many few wins the Jaguars could pull off. Let's first take a look at their respective depth chart and see what that looks like.
Yeah. And I get Doug Peterson is an upgrade over Urban Meyer. I mean, who wouldn't be an upgrade over Urban Meyer? You would be a better coach than Urban Meyer. I would be a better coach than Urban Meyer in the NFL, and based on how awful that experience was, and Travis Etienne might be considered the luckiest guy ever because he never had to play a game under Urban Meyer because he tore his ACL in training camp. So, but Lawrence and Etienne are back together again. They gave big bucks to Christian Kirk. I disagree with them, given that he never had a 1,000-yard season and he was the third best wide receiver on his own team. I do like the improvements on the offensive line. And then defensively, I still can't wrap my head around the Jaguars selecting Trayvon Walker with the number 1 overall pick in the draft, but they still have a solid front seven. I know Josh Allen, Devin Lloyd. I like them picking up Folu from Atlanta. So without any further ado, I think we can go to Jacksonville schedule now.
Yeah, we can go to schedule here, and looks like might not be much to write home about. They do start on the road in Washington, which I could probably see as a loss. One, two, three, four. I can definitely see the first 4 games all as losses.
Yeah, I actually have Jacksonville beating Washington in week 1.
Then week 5 they're at home against Houston. It's going to be one of their few. I'm going to say a split with the Texans. A split with the Texans. That's probably best thing. Out on the road to Indianapolis, that's a loss. Home against the Giants, I don't really see the Jaguars beating the Giants on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Then they have the international game on October 30th against Russell Wilson and the Broncos. That's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, that screams 31-17 Denver written all over that one.
Yeah, definitely. And then they're at home against the Raiders.
So I don't see that as a win for Jacksonville. I mean, well, what do I have? I actually have Jacksonville winning that game against the Raiders.
Ah.
And before losing to Kansas City in Week 10. But what I have Jacksonville winning on the road against Washington and the Chargers, and winning at home against Houston and Vegas, and then losing the other 6. So at this point, I would have Jacksonville going into the bye week with a record of 4-6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I actually have them going into the bye week with a record of 1-9, and their only win before the bye would be in week 5 when they're at home against the Texans.
Yeah. I think the Jaguars are going to be more competitive than people think, but not to the point where I think they can compete with Indianapolis for the division.
Then off the bye week, they're at home against the Ravens.
I have that as Trevor Lawrence's coming out party. So we can scroll down now because to see the rest of the schedule.
Yeah.
So we can give you.
There you go.
Yeah. The Jags Lions game is going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting because you have two up and coming teams. The Lions obviously are on this season of Hard Knocks, and I don't know if you saw that Aiden Hutchinson was doing a karaoke to he was doing karaoke to something but it's gonna be exciting for the Lions with Aiden Hutchinson and on the full there. So he actually did karaoke to Michael Jackson, Billie Jean. I mean, in the Hard Knocks episode last night.
Oh, I have to see that. I do have HBO Max, so I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. Karaoke to Michael Jackson's Billie Jean. That it would be worth something to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, if nothing else happens to the Jaguars, I guess that would probably be the big highlight right there.
Yeah.
At Detroit, I'm gonna have to put a question mark on that one.
Yeah, and also, by the way, that's a matchup between the number 1 and number 2 overall picks, Trayvon Walker against Aiden Hutchinson. That's going to be an interesting matchup there. But then, after week 13, because they're on the road against Tennessee, I have both Tennessee games as losses for Jacksonville.
Right.
I have them losing at home to the Dallas Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have losses to the Jets and to the Texans. And then, of course, the last loss to Tennessee to round out the year. So I have Jacksonville winning 6 games. But you have less than I do.
Yeah, I have 1, 15, and 1 question mark.
Wow.
Yeah, this may be very, very, very rough for the Jacksonville Jaguars here. So.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, I disagree with the Doug Peterson hire in real time, but he can't be that bad, can't he?
I would rather take Peterson over Meyer anytime.
Yeah.
So we got one more team to talk about tonight, and that, of course, will be the the artist formerly known as the Houston Oilers, what I call them, the Tennessee Titans. Uh, and like I said, it's this division will I think once again be a two-team division between Tennessee and Indianapolis as we take a look at their depth chart right now.
Yeah, and look, look, I think Tennessee has its strengths, particularly when it comes to their defense. Because I do think their front seven is excellent, and it starts with edge rush with Jeffrey Simmons. So I could scroll down to the defense because I think that's where we should start for this one. Yeah, and they have an excellent Danigo Autry, Howard Landry, Zach Cunningham, Bud Dupree, who came over from the Steelers last season. So this is a tremendous front seven, and I think that's gonna give them a chance to win a good chunk of games. In terms of the secondary, they need to see improvement, especially from Caleb Farley. Kevin Byard, it needs a bounce back season there as well. So we can scroll back up to the offense, and it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a quarterback in the wilderness this year because I mean Tannehill benefited greatly from having AJ Brown the last 3 years because his quarterback numbers were really good with AJ Brown on the field, but the Titans selected Traylon Burks to replace him. AJ Brown was going to be a salary cap casualty, so the Titans smartly traded him to get some value back in return, which included the 18th overall pick, and that's what the Titans used it on Traylon Burks. The offensive line is not as strong as it was last year, and that could lead to a downward number in production for Derrick Henry. So let's
go ahead and take a look at the Titans' schedule. They start at home against the Giants.
Yeah. And you can scroll down to the first half of the season. I have the Giants as a win for Tennessee. I actually think Tennessee can go on the road and beat the Bills on that Monday night game. So I have Tennessee started the season 2-0 before at that point. So
I'm kind of leaning toward Buffalo in that one.
Yeah.
But I agree that they can stand their ground against the Giants at home.
Yeah, it's gonna be a close game that week one. I think that game has 21-17, 23-20 written all over it. It's gonna be a close game. Make no mistake about it. I think the Giants are gonna come in this competitive. I mean, with Wink Martindale's defense, but we'll get into that in 4 weeks from in 4 weeks when we make our picks for week one. But weeks 3, 4, and 5, according to what I have losses in all three.
Losing at home to the Raiders, losing on the road to Indianapolis, which I can see. On the road at Washington, I could probably see that as a loss too. So before their bye week in week 6, I got them going 1-4, winning against the Giants. And then off the bye week, they are at home against the Colts.
Yeah, we said that Indy and Tennessee would split.
Yeah, I said the road teams win the Colts matchups. Yes, at Houston, I don't see no problem with that one. Tennessee got that one.
Yeah, and yes, so I have them winning at home against Houston, but then I just think that after a loss against Houston, I have Kansas City, Denver, and Green Bay all in succession. Good luck.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a tough 3-game stretch right there. I mean, you got Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
I mean, you talk about top tier right there.
and then you three of the top five quarterbacks in the NFL, in my opinion, in three successive in 12 days. I mean, because one of their games is on short rest, and they have to go on the road at Lambeau Field against that Packers team and that defense.
Mm-hmm.
Not looking too great.
November 27th, they're at home against the Bengals.
I think the Titans bounce back and win that game.
Then they're on the road at Philly.
I have that game as a loss for Tennessee. So,
yeah. Then they're at home against the Jaguars. I see no problem with that one.
yeah, and then if you scroll down, you'll still see the rest of the schedule here, and then week 15 against the Chargers. I think the Titans can go on the road and win that game.
Yeah, I agree with that. They got no problem against Houston. I see a loss against the Cowboys. And then I see a victory in Jacksonville against the Jaguars.
Yep. So I have Tennessee going to 8-9. So the way I have the division stacked up, I have the Colts winning the division. I have Tennessee at number 2, Jacksonville at number 3, and Houston in last place in that division.
Yeah, that's the way I see it. I have the same record for you, for the Titans as you, 8-9. So looks like Indianapolis will take the title once again in that particular division. So I guess we can go ahead and stop sharing right now. We can just go ahead and get us here. There any? I hadn't even noticed this person. Someone's watching. His name's Little Boxes here. What's up? How you doing? Thanks for watching, man. Hey, let us know what you think about our predictions here as we go through these divisional previews, man. Just go to the comment section below and let us know what you think, bro. Nice you to keep watching. Spread the word, man. Spread the word, because we do this for y'all because we love y'all.
Yeah, I think something needs to be said. And I think I look back at the archives, and when I look at what the power structure is around the NFL. There was a point in time I think the year in 1989 when that was the year the 49ers won their 4th championship when they blew out the Broncos in the Super Bowl, and it was the last year where 5 teams made the playoffs in the NFC, and that featured teams like the Rams being good, the 49ers at the height of their powers, the Giants, the Eagles. So there were 7 teams in the NFC that year that won 10 games. There was only 1 in the AFC that won 10 games. So I've been thinking about this for a while. So I mean, I don't think you were young enough, you were old enough to remember the Joe Montana 49ers teams, but that was a point where the NFC was so dominant. Because they had won 13 straight Super Bowls. That's the type of strength I'm seeing from the AFC, and yeah, you look at Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Indianapolis with Matt Ryan as the quarterback with their rosters. We'll see more of those types of rosters when we look at the Bills next week with Josh Allen. We'll see it with Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Derek Carr, Justin Herbert. There is a serious case to be made that even with the expanded playoffs, that there's going to be at least a team or two that in the same conference that wins 10 games and doesn't make the playoffs. Like you could think of the Chiefs or the Dolphins or if Jacksonville actually surprises, which I find more likely to happen than Tim sees it, um, maybe the Browns trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. Maybe they could win 10 games with the roster that they have. So I think that there's a lot to be said about the AFC this year. And does this mean that all the great or that everyone that the AFC is superior right now? No, because last year you had the Rams winning the Super Bowl. The year before you had Tampa winning the Super Bowl. The year before, the 49ers were up 20-10 in the fourth quarter against the Chiefs. So just because the AFC is a better conference doesn't mean the Super Bowl champion is going to come from the AFC. Now, if I was to unveil my Super Bowl pick now, I would pick a team from the AFC to win the Super Bowl based on the strength of schedule. But these tests are going to make will make these teams better. So like, Baltimore plays Cincinnati week 5, and they play the Steelers weeks 14 and 17. So those games are going to require a certain amount of toughness, a certain level of game planning and bringing in former experiences, which will toughen teams up when they go into the playoff because it's going to be an all-out war in the AFC when it comes to the playoffs, and I think next week and Monday, I believe, is when we're doing our next show. I believe, is that correct, Tim?
Let's see here. We have next week. We got we'll be talking about the AFC East and West next week, and I think we have 1 week that we can kind of do playoff predictions, because then the next week on the 7th, I think it's this. I think Natalie planned for the 2nd of September to be our draft night.
Yeah, so that's our draft night. So so we have that, and then then I know on Hooked on Sports, the Monday after Labor Day is the day I lock in when I officially lock in my NFL predictions, set them in stone. So if we unveil season predictions, but before then, it would not be official from my end, because what if something comes up between the end of the preseason and week number 1? That's going to change the entire calculation. So
Yeah, you're right there. So
yeah,
we'll discuss that off camera. We'll see what we can do with like playoff predictions and all that, because we ain't got much time left until the regular season begins. Like I said, teams are starting preseason. Only 3 weeks in the preseason, because there's 18 weeks in the regular season now. So
because that was from the collective bargaining agreement from a couple of years ago.
That's right. So, all right. Well, I guess we'll just put our apps on this show, our second show in 3 nights, and it's pretty crazy. A lot to talk about.
And like, this is why I do 2 podcasts episodes a week during the season. It's because you have so much stuff you have to talk about leading into that week.
Yep, and such is the life of sports. And remember, folks, if you're hooked on sports just as much as Flynn is, just go ahead and click one of the links in the description area below, and you can get John Flynn with Hooked on Sports. And Flynn, once again, thanks for joining me, bro. I will check you out next week.
I'll check in with you throughout the week for when the next episode is going to be.
All right, it'll be sometime next week. We will. Next week, we conclude our divisional previews by taking a look at the AFC East and West divisions, and so y'all be watching out for that. Make sure to listen to Hooked on Sports with John Flynn. So, Until next time, so for John Flynn and everyone here, my name's Tim McClellan. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Good night, God bless you, and as always, be a good sport. See ya.
15 seconds to air. Stand by, all cameras.
Ready with slow motion and isolated cameras.
Stand by, videotape, and roll tape.
And tape is rolling.